Hello and welcome to the Strategic Bookkeeper Podcast. In today's episode, I am having a conversation with Jared Brintz. He is from Intuit. So I've just wrapped this interview. I just want to tell you what we're diving into today. I have to say I loved the conversation and I learned a lot. So a couple of things I wanted to know. Number one was about prompting, which sometimes I feel like prompting, is it overrated? Is it really useful? Well, Jared shares a couple of, frameworks. One in particular is called an 8-part framework, and I will be using it from now on when I work with ChatGPT to just make it easier to go from zero instruction to perfect output with more ease without iteration after iteration, reprompt, etc. So that was amazing. And then the other thing I was keen to find out about is what Intuit, QBO, QuickBooks Online, well, Intuit is more, I think, the umbrella, but I always think as a bookkeeper in practice of QuickBooks software, right? So what's Intuit doing with AI? And Jared is going to tell us how they are doing this unified platform, bringing in AI agents that will help us with just another layer beyond automation of doing the work, which is amazing. So I asked more questions than that. They got really cool stuff out. I feel in terms of AI, this episode was really, really great. And so I'll see you in there. I'm Jeannie Savage, the Strategic Bookkeeper. I've been in practice for 14 years, but more importantly, 5 years in, I achieved a lifestyle practice. This means I scaled my business, could take my hands off the wheel, and draw a nice 6-figure income while being time rich. And that's what I call my dream on my terms. I was recently awarded Women in Finance Innovator of the Year, recognizing my book, my podcast, my program, and my impact globally. The Strategic Bookkeeper is my life's work, and the opportunity to help bookkeepers globally achieve the income and lifestyle that sets them free absolutely fills my cup. Please do connect with me on socials at the Strategic Bookkeepers Way private Facebook group, or shoot me an email, hello@thestrategicbookkeeper.global. Welcome to the podcast, Jared.
Thank you so much, Jeannie. Pleasure to be here.
Amazing. So we're going to have a conversation about AI today. And before we jump into that, would you just introduce yourself, tell us a bit about yourself and whatever's in your heart to share?
Yeah, sure thing. Yeah, my name's Jared, like Jeannie mentioned. I work here at QuickBooks, part of Intuit, which is a global powerhouse in the financial management services platform industry. And yeah, I've been into the AI space now for almost 3 years. I was an early adopter through the US as well when ChatGPT launched, really got stuck in and just found it to be so fascinating, and to kind of witness the rapid growth in that space has been really exciting. I've also kind of taken on the role of being an evangelist within my organization, and also doing some kind of extracurricular certifications in the space to just make sure that my skill set is aligned with the ever-evolving market. My foundation is in information systems. I have a degree in information systems, and it's just always been fascinated with the merging of technology and business and how we can use that to really just amplify and kind of speed our workflows up. So yeah, really excited to share some of that with you all today.
Yeah. And I share your love of that integration of IT and business. I was in my late 20s when I got involved in a project for our family business, and it was to really develop fully integrated accounting software for the retail business that they had. And back then, we were building it on the browser, right, which is what went on to be known as cloud. And I already liked tech, but I never looked back from then, and everything that I discovered about tech, about the users. I created a framework after that called the TPP, which is tech, processes, people, and then in reverse, the people following the process inside the tech. I still use it constantly with clients and so on, because I realized that tech had become the new manager. Tech could be a real backbone, whereas once upon a time, definitely in my era, it was processes and people, but now, tech is team and so on. So I definitely share your passion for that.
Yeah, it's great to hear. I mean, I love that framework too. I might have to steal that.
Yeah, the tech process people, the people using the process and the tech. I'm a bit obsessed with it. All right, so we've got a couple of topics that we are looking at today. We're going to look at prompt engineering, which is a fancy term, right? For knowing how to talk to ChatGPT, etc. My partner just said, my goodness, you're such a prompt engineer. And it's a big one. And if you can just get some key takeaways, it really will help you get what you want out of a tool like ChatGPT. And then we are going to also dive into one I'm really keen to hear about, which is how Intuit is thinking about AI and the way we're embedding it directly into our products. I'm pretty keen to hear about that. So, Jared, first, your prompt engineering tips, anything you want to share there?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, you kind of alluded to it in a great way. So really, it's just essentially about the process of designing and refining the inputs to elicit the desired output from the artificial intelligence models, the Gen AI models, particularly the large language models that we work with today. So being the elephant in the room, ChatGPT, I don't know what the user base is now, but I know it was fastest to 100 million users. There's other ones like Google Gemini as well. That's a very fast growing model from the Alphabet team. There's also Claude through the Anthropic organization. And then there's several others still, like Perplexity being the AI-powered answer engine, and then even Elon Musk's XAI with their Grok model. So all of these fall under that bucket. And really the principles about how you engineer your prompting applies to all of them. So really, when you learn these principles, it's a really extremely powerful kind of like initiative in a sense that you can apply to any work that you're doing with it. I break it down into kind of 4 main categories. And one is really guiding the AI, which involves just providing those clear and specific instructions towards producing a more accurate, relevant, and high quality response. Probably maybe the most important one, you can make an argument. And then how do we craft effective inputs, being that second principle? So clearly and carefully selecting the words, phrases, and formats to optimize the model's understanding and its response generation. And then another one being the optimizing of the output itself. So that part is really focused on improving the reliability and the usefulness of the AI generated content. And you do that through fine tuning the inputs. And then the last being context and clarity, which really underpins all of it. And it's really emphasizing providing that sufficient context and clear instructions to help the AI understand what you really wanted to do for your specific use case. And then if you can apply all 4 of those to every one of your interactions, you're just going to have a much better experience. You're not going to get frustrated with the output and shake your fist at the machine and say some expletives, perhaps. And kind of building upon that, one of my favorite things to always share is a framework that I really apply to almost every time I'm prompting. It's kind of a longer framework, but really once you get into the rhythm of it, it's easy to kind of remember. And it's an 8-step framework. So essentially, I'll run through it real quick. One is setting the clear goal, what you want it to do. Number 2 is personifying the AI's role. So defining the role. A lot of this is act as and then fill in the blank of what you want it to act as, whether you want it to be a analytical, data engineer, or whether you want it to be a senior accountant with 30 years experience, whatever that looks like. Define the role always. And then the AI knows how to reference that knowledge base to be specific to that role. And number 3 is providing that output that you want in a format that you want. So if you wanted to provide a table, for instance, that you can export to a spreadsheet, or if you want to provide an output that you can input into a slide deck, be very specific around there. And then leaning into that context piece, if you have examples of previous work that were really good and you want to try to replicate that, you can provide examples. And then another one that a lot of people might miss is providing constraints. So providing warnings about where you don't want the AI to go. Like, for instance, if you are asking it to provide a financial analysis of a business that you work with as a bookkeeper, but you don't want it to provide financial advice, you would specifically clearly state, I don't want you to provide financial advice, only analysis and recommendations, or something along those lines. You being the expert in your space and your clients, you'll know what those constraints are. If you can provide any more context in the form of specific documents or files or data reference points built into the LLMs, which a lot of them have integrations to be able to provide that kind of documentation, that always helps. And then you can even go so far as to specify the tone and style of the output. So if you have something that you know is going to be sent across to executive leaders of a C-suite level, you can ask for a more formal business approach to that output. Or if you know it's something more casual to a client you've worked with for years, you can ask it to be more friendly and, however it applies again to the use case. And then one of the last ones I also include here in my framework is what's been tested in kind of research institutions over and over again, and it's actually proved to deliver better responses. And it kind of sounds funny when you say it out loud, but to include emotional and directional prompts. So those emotional and directional prompts, to give an example, would be take a deep breath and try your best, or something like don't get confused and make up answers. And then an emotional example would be, I believe in you. I know you can do this. Try really hard and give me your best answer. So it's kind of funny to think that these are statements that you can embed into your prompting, but it actually has been proven to add incremental value to the output that you get by just having a more emotional, directional connection. It's almost like how you would teach your children to kind of focus on a task at hand, but also be very encouraging at the same time. But yeah, it sounds silly to say it out loud, but it actually works though.
I had heard that. And look, I love a process. I don't always need to understand the process. I like to just use it and learn as I go, which is how I teach, actually. It's frustrating for my students. They're like, shouldn't we know this at the beginning? No, go get a result, then figure it out later. So, Jared, I had heard about this. I do say to ChatGPT, for example, now, Chat, this is really important to me. I want you to take your time. Please don't rush it. That framework is so good because I get really great results out of Chat, but this is helping me with when I get, for example, I might be expecting a particular tone, like when I'm creating a product for bookkeepers to use with their client, and I might be using my brand manager, which actually knows how to do the selling side of my brand, and then suddenly it swings into a tone that's inappropriate for that product, So I think I'm going to have these written down. And as I move forward, especially doing my deep strategic work with ChatGPT, have that in front of me so I can say to Chat, I'm going to use this 8-part framework. And so let's look at the goal, let's look at the role, let's look at the output. Then we had context, constraints. I use constraints now, but I feel like I can use that better. Tone and style, emotional and directional. I feel like I've got 7. I don't know where I missed the other one.
Yeah, the examples, providing examples perhaps.
Yeah, because I do get better outputs when I give examples. So when I'm product developing, it'll have some products. But then the other day I got a shocking response, and I did say to myself, Jeannie, it's got to be your input that's doing this. Even though I'm frustrated and I just want to blame ChatGPT, I've actually reflected lately on not getting as good results. And I even think I'm a little more tired. I'm getting a bit lazy in my instruction and then I'm not getting the output. But this I love because it allows me to not have to muster the energy to get it right. I can just use a process. So that's amazing.
Yeah, I love that framework. It's repeatable and applicable to almost anything you're doing. And I do the same thing. Like I actually outline the framework ahead of time when I'm like starting a piece of work, a thread within the GPT itself. And sometimes when it's a space that I might not be an expert in, if I'm exploring along the lines of something I don't do in my day to day, I will actually turn the prompt back to the expert, or what you can refer to as the expert, which is the model itself. So I will ask the model to either review my input for that particular level of the framework, whether it's 1 through 8, or also even to suggest ways to improve the prompt itself. So I have it as kind of a 3-step process there as well before you go directly to the output. And I call it prompting the prompt. So it's like reviewing the prompt input or that framework piece. And even if you have a first draft of that prompt, before you even ask it to deliver the output from it, ask it to review your prompting input. It might suggest new things to include in there, or, question why you included this and ask for more context. And sometimes I'll even ask it, is there anything I left out? And was there anything that would be more useful for you to know before you produce the output? And that feeds into the second step of that 3-part framework to support the overall prompt structure. And I call it modifying the input, but holding the output. So modifying the input by reviewing it with the platform itself. And then once you're happy with that input and the model itself is happy with that input, then asking it to deliver the output. And then finally assessing it through what I just call the 3 C's, which is clarity, correctness, and context. And you can apply that kind of waterfall to really get from 0 to 1 a much, much quicker way, instead of having to iterate on the fly as you go. Instead of asking it to give you the output and then having to go back and iterate, you can do a level of iteration first before you even get that first level of output.
Wow. Wow, you are so clear about this. I need it in a course.
I mean, it definitely helped. I did my first certification 2 years ago with a university professor virtually out of the US. And it went into very much more detailed kind of language around, one-shot prompting, multi-shot prompting, chain of thought, chain of reasoning, different things like that. So a lot of these I kind of have taken and tried to build into a more digestible kind of format, which is what's fed into kind of these frameworks I've built.
Amazing. This is teaching me I need to lean into a little bit more education around AI. I'm really good at working with ChatGPT, but there's that danger then when you're good enough that you don't invest in getting better. So this has been amazing for me. Okay, I feel like I've got so much there. I would love to move on to, I'm dying to know, what is going on with Intuit and AI in the product?
Yeah, I mean, we have a really exciting year ahead. We are transitioning from a kind of a product vertical company to a more platform focused company. And the entire new platform that we are launching is underpinned and powered through generative AI. Without getting into the specifics, Intuit globally is just a massive data organization. In the US, we have some cornerstone brands, TurboTax and Credit Karma. Globally, we have QuickBooks, of course, and we also have Mailchimp. So when you pull all of the data and all of the customer knowledge base in there, we actually have 103 million global customers across all four of those brands. Within QuickBooks globally, we have 8 million customers, and each interaction with each customer is feeding into this new platform generative AI model that we're launching. And the exciting news is it's actually already live in the United States right now, and it'll be coming to the APAC markets and the Australia market within our financial year this year. So yeah, it's really about kind of creating what we're calling a done for you experience. So all of what you need to do to run your business or run your accounting firm or bookkeeping firm is in one platform, unified. And the power comes from an agentic AI platform. So when the platform is in its full functionality, it will have 12 AI agents that all specialize in one specific area of running a business or running a firm. So if you think about it, having an accounting AI agent, a CRM agent, a payments agent, payroll agent, a scheduling agent, and so on, that is what the new platform experience will look like in the very near future. So yeah, really excited to go from a kind of a do-it-yourself format with our current product SKUs, where you have to go in and you have to do most of the work within QuickBooks yourself. The agentic platform will be able to suggest things for you to do, and with your own approval, will action those things for you. So that's really the key step, is that there will always be within our platform, it will be where AI and HI come together. It's a really emerging of artificial intelligence and human intelligence. So we're not doing away with that human intelligence piece. We actually are leaning into that. We actually find it to be what sets our products apart from just overall generalized LLM models. So it's kind of why you would turn to our product instead of just going to a ChatGPT to do the work for you, because they have agentic features within there. However, our product marries the AI and HI element to bring everything together in one place. And again, give you time back and also save you money in the long run, because time is money.
Yes. And again, I think it can always sound a bit scary, right? It's like, oh, the AI agent's going to do the work. What's left? But it's not like this is new, as in we've had these, goodness gracious, I've had my practice for 15 years, and increasingly, like I remember when we had cloud software start to come in and more automation and other great software tools, that meant that tech started. Automation particularly was that first kind of, oh, okay, well, tech and automation's beginning to take up some of this friction-y grunt work that we traditionally humans had to do, because I come from the era of writing it down as well. It was a book, hence the bookkeeping. And then, it's been slow. And I would say that this next progression is more of that friction being taken up by technology. In this case, we're going to call it an AI agent that works in a new, effective way to provide us with more time that we can spend proactively working with our clients rather than reactively working in the weeds of the numbers. Yeah,
exactly. It'll allow businesses and, firm managers to focus on things that they may not have had time to do before, because we are going to kind of agentically take some of that admin off of your to-do list. And then you can explore expanding your advisory services or moving into areas where you wanted to grow your firm or your business that you previously just couldn't because you just didn't have enough time. And
Mhm.
really, yeah, just giving back some human capital to all of our business owners and customers across the world.
Amazing. Can you explain to me, and probably the listeners too, the agentic versus, how do I say the other one with the G?
Just generative.
AI. Yes, yes. The difference between the two?
Yeah, so agentic essentially is really taking the next step beyond just the generative. So the generative might give you a response and tell you a recommendation about
Yes.
what to do or how to do it. The agentic piece is actually an automated workflow that'll be built into our platforms. And I mean, this applies to any level of, technology that is using agentic workflows where it could actually do the steps for you. So it can actually categorize your balance sheet for you when you have incoming
Mm,
transactions to where you won't have to categorize it. It will suggest what that categorization looks like, and then you approve it, and then it will go ahead and do it for you. On top of that, if you run a payroll monthly across your organization, it will suggest what that payroll run should look like. And you just click
mm-hmm.
a button, and then it actually actions the payroll run for you and does every other subsequent flow that needs to be done. So it's through the power of those workflows and the
Yep.
automation, but then allowing and unlocking the agent to actually complete all the actions within that automated workflow for you. So, yeah.
Okay, I know internally my team are doing some of that. In fact, my assistant, we call her the architect of the business, she's getting into a lot of that at the moment. We've been running a project all year. And I guess, is this also where I hear, something is now called a robot? Could you say that agentic automated workflow, and we're calling it an AI agent, also gets called the bot?
I mean, there are similarities and there are overlaps. What the difference is there is that a robot or a bot really, it doesn't learn and improve over time. I think that's the
Aha.
main differentiator between AI agents and just bots and robots that can actually do things, because that obviously has been around for a long time. But the AI
Yes.
agent is now the new iteration and evolution of a bot. And what that is every action that you interact with an agent, it's learning from that action, and it will course
Right.
correct and it will adapt its workflows in the future. So, for instance, that categorization piece, if the agent suggests a categorization that was actually incorrect, and then you manually correct it and then tell it to go ahead and do that, it's actually going to learn now. So the next time that same invoice or payment comes through, it will suggest the correct action for that invoice or payment. So therefore, it's improving itself over time. So that's the difference mostly between a robot or bot is a static piece of code, and a
Mm-hmm.
generative AI agent is actually evolutionary state of code where it's overall adapting and growing and learning over time to personalize to your particular use cases and experience.
Okay, that makes total sense, but it's also blowing my mind.
Yeah. And I mean, to be honest, what you said too, your team is working on this. You actually can build these agents yourself. But
Yeah,
again, a
yeah,
lot of people don't have the team's investment or skill sets to do this kind of work on yourself, which is why we
yeah.
still feel like there is a need and market for this. Also, the other part about our platform is we find business owners and, accountants and bookkeepers who are running their own firms. They're using a very wide array of technology tools. This is also meant to unify that scope of work and
Yeah.
consolidate it within one platform. So if you think about the average business owner uses 9+ apps to run their business, they could, in theory, cut that down to maybe one or two within this platform space. And then we're always building out new integrations into our platform through third-party
Mm.
connections, which eventually over time will build into our agent workflows as well.
Yes, we love the Mailchimp platform and we recommend that to our bookkeepers as well. So that's amazing that that's happening. Okay, Jared, this has been an amazing conversation where I've learned more than we expected. Now, any final tips, tricks, comments, suggestions you'd like to leave our listeners with?
I mean, I think overall it's easy to say, but sometimes it's hard to do. But it's really just about staying curious and always focusing on growth, really. Like kind of what you said, it's very common. We can all get to a level of complacency where we think we've reached like a status quo, good enough to carry us through. But I always encourage everybody to keep that childlike curiosity when it comes to AI and generative AI and agentic AI, because we are in very early days still. And I always encourage people to not think that you've missed the boat, because it is still early adopter days. It's never too late to learn. And then the amount of value that you can unlock for your business, your clients, it's immense value. And even in your own personal life, like my wife uses it for meal planning. She uses it to come up with fun, interactive games for our toddler. She uses it for an array of things in your personal life that it really is like having assistance built into your pocket right now. So think about like
Yeah.
without having to onboard new employees who specialize in project management, we are building a project management agent into the platform now to help you grow your business in that space and take on new work that maybe you would have to have outsourced that or bring on a new employee to do. So there's a lot of value. There's some exciting stuff out there. If you want to see what that launch looks like in the United States, you can easily Google Intuit Assist or Intuit Platform, and there'll be a really exciting video that really brings it to life. Again, this isn't just us talking about this. This is already live. This is already happening. And we're about to scale this out globally. So it's a really exciting time to get on board.
Yeah, it's amazing. My partner just put blood tests into chat. I cook every day with ChatGPT. One of my main hobbies is cooking. So these days I tend to say, oh, ChatGPT and I are cooking this or cooking that. And I've found it quite wonderful in my life. I've done a bit of education on AI ethics and its limits and some of the funny things it does. And we don't always want to believe everything that comes out of it. My son and I argue a lot because he says, oh, it's just like Google. It's just a search engine. See, it's not. I even asked ChatGPT to present me with some things that Google wouldn't present. And ChatGPT, maybe because we could do a more curated search and it was personal stuff, it presented me with the most amazing output that I could not get in a search engine. So in our personal life, I think it's amazing as well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I do think that it is quite different than a traditional search engine. I like to refer to it similar to what Perplexity describes itself as more of an answer engine. I think it's a little more specific in that sense. And also being able to parse maybe what you could look at as multiple websites worth of information into one succinct response. Whereas in Google, if you search something, you might have to go to multiple, click through domains to actually find the answer for what you're looking for. Whereas
Yeah.
ChatGPT is an answer engine. It has the ability to pull all of that into one unified view for you. And again, speed things along in your life. We actually did a really funny thing, which is also scary at the same time. And maybe not everybody wants to do this, but you actually can do an analysis of what ChatGPT knows about you. So you can say, I want you to kind of an investigative journalist and I'm doing an expose on, and then you insert your own name and then tell me everything you know about this person. And it could do like an entire profile on you. And then you can even take it a click further and do like a psychological profile on yourself even too,
Wow.
or other people or candidates. If you were trying to win a big client and you wanted to know a little bit more about what makes this person tick, you could actually go deep and see what's out there and let the AI actually guide you, which could just kind of enhance those conversations you're having and make it feel a little more personable if it's handled in the right way.
That's amazing.
Yeah. That was actually
that
scary
is-
what it overturned about myself. Actually, it was kind of funny. It was all stuff
What is
I
it?
knew was out there, but you just don't really know the scale of your digital footprint until you do something like that. And I think a lot of people have Googled themselves before, but
Yes,
like
most people,
when you
yeah.
chat GPT yourself, it actually takes it to a whole new level.
It is different. I have done it for the Strategic Bookkeeper, and I was very happy with our brand presence when it came back to me as a response. Jared, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. It has been lovely and so educational to have you here.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jeannie. It's been a pleasure. Yeah, I love talking about AI. You've been a great host, so thank you so much.
Okay, my friend, now it is time to take action. So, what are you going to do with what you learned today? The way I see it, you've got two options. You can go it alone to try and save some money, or you can back yourself and go for it and join my tribe. And let me tell you, we are knocking it out of the ballpark. That's not a sales pitch. That is me serving you, dare I say, courageously. To find success, I 100% know you need the mechanics, which is like the keys to the kingdom, but you also need to get your mindset right and be super productive. And these are all things I help you with inside the program. I could go on about this forever because I really want this for you. Have a prosperous week, and I'll see you in the next episode.